Every successful organization at some point hits a wall. You got this great team, a fantastic product, and then that huge question hits you. How do we grow? But I don't mean just getting bigger. I mean, how do we grow without losing the magic, right? The very quality that made us successful to begin with. Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly how to scale excellence without it all falling apart.
It's a story you've probably seen a dozen times, isn't it? A team is just on fire when it's small. A product is perfect in its first version, but the second you try to expand, things just start to break. Quality takes a nosedive, bureaucracy starts creeping in, and that initial spark just kind of fizzles out. It's one of the toughest nuts to crack in business, so what is really going on here?
All right, so the problem often starts because we fall into what you could call the scaling trap. And look, it's an easy mistake to make because it's based on this very common but ultimately totally flawed way of thinking about growth.
And here's the core conflict that trips up so many leaders. On the left, you've got the common view. Growth is just about addition. More people, more products, more meetings. But that path almost always leads to more complexity and, let's be honest, mediocrity. The excellence view, on the other hand, totally reframes the goal. It's not about just adding more stuff, it's about finding what already works, that little pocket of greatness, and figuring out how to skillfully spread it.
And this quote, wow, it really raises the stakes. Scaling isn't something that just happens to you. It's an active choice you're making. Every single day, leaders are either consciously pushing for excellence to spread, or they're just letting things drift. And letting things drift is basically an open invitation for mediocrity to just move right in. It's a constant battle, and you've got to fight it with intention.
So if that common view is a trap, how do we get out of it? Well, it's going to take a completely new mindset, one that doesn't just try to avoid the bad stuff, but actively builds a strategy around spreading the good stuff.
And that brings us to the core idea here, scaling excellence. Now, the two most important words in this definition are spreading and without diluting. This is not about creating a bigger, watered-down version of what you already do best. It's about replicating quality and making absolutely sure that your 100th team is just as amazing as your first one was.
Okay, so how do we actually do this? The framework starts with the foundation, the bedrock that everything else gets built on, solid systems and a powerful culture.
So here's the deal. You have to make excellence the default, not the exception. Step one is all about getting that magic out of the heads of a few superstars and building it directly into the workflow. Make it a repeatable process that anyone can follow. And step two? That's about the DNA of your organization. It's creating a culture where high standards are the norm, they're celebrated, and they're taught to every single person who walks through the door.
All right, once that foundation is in place, we need the engine to drive it all forward. And that is all about empowering your people and being really smart about managing your processes as you get bigger. Look, great scaling is not about top-down control. It's about creating more leaders at every level. This means you have to push decision-making down to the people who are closest to the action. You've got to give them the autonomy to act, but, and this is so important, you also have to give them absolute clarity on the company's values. That way, they have a compass to guide all of their actions.
Now we get to one of the most sophisticated parts of scaling, knowing exactly what to lock down and what to let loose. The trick is to be absolutely rigid about your core values, your quality standards, your cultural non-negotiables. But you have to stay flexible on things like local market tactics or daily operational routines. Getting this balance right is how you stop that bureaucratic bloat that just strangles so many growing companies.
Okay, we've looked at the foundation of systems and culture, we've looked at the engine of people and process, but what is the single most important element that powers this whole thing? What's the one thing you have to get right above everything else?
It's this. It's the mindset. You can have the best technology, the perfect org chart, all the tools in the world, but if your people don't have a culture of scalable thinking, a deep-seated belief in spreading excellence, it will all fall apart. The will to scale greatness has to come before the way to do it.
So I'll leave you with a final question to take back to your team or your company or even just your own work. What is that one pocket of greatness, that one brilliant process or behavior you have that is just waiting to be spread? Because identifying it, well, that's the very first step to truly scaling excellence.